Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Good crack a noon to our friends on the East Coast. I am Todd Obert with Productive Corporation. Joined alongside me virtually is Dan Faltisco of Sophos. He is going to get you up to speed on what's new with Sophos MDR. And, we are going to sit back and enjoy it. Before we do that, anybody who has been to our events knows how we like to do it. We like to meet productive in 1 minute or less. And then we quickly get me off the microphone and get you to the content you joined for. So with that, let's kick it off. We are ready to rock. I know Dan cannot wait to tell you all the new stuff, including the Secureworks and Sophos combo. But who is Productive Corporation? Well, thank you for asking, even though you're muted. Productive Corporation improves the security posture of mid-sized companies. How do we do that? Well, we have specialized expertise in the products that we sell. We understand your security needs. We also, along that, we implement, test, and optimize all the products that we sell. On the front end, we do security assessments. We've been contacting you guys about system compromise exercises. So if you've heard from one of our guys, let us know. It's really the front end to a solid security strategy. And so we'd love to talk to you about it. Also, we produce some third-party content like today, where we are talking about Sophos MDR. The bottom line is we can help you, whether it's assessment, implementation, licensing, or security services. Help at productivecorp.com. Use that. Really makes a difference. Goes to all of us if you need something. So let you know. As I said here up at the top, Dan Faltisco of Sophos will be presenting today on Sophos. He is a senior engineer and wow, been with Sophos. I don't know, Dan. Is it 10 years yet, or what's the number?
No, I've been here for 4.5 years.
4.5. I was going to say 5, but then I'm like, I'm going to go big. So, but it's been a great run. He knows his stuff. So sit back, relax, listen, and if you have a question, utilize the chat feature. Dan, you have control.
Perfect. Let's make sure that everybody's seeing the right view.
I can see the slide view. Flip that. There you go. Now put it in presentation mode, and we'll be rocking.
Yeah, stop. Let me just do this. Maybe not. Here we go. Figured it out.
Awesome.
There we go. Okay. Perfect. Thanks so much. Yeah, sorry about that. Just getting the hang of GoToWebinar. It's been a while since I've done that. And yeah, 4 years at Sophos, 4.5 years at Sophos, and 3 years working with Productive Corp. So almost 3 years on the dot. March will be our anniversary of working together. So always happy to hop on these calls, provide an update of what's new with Sophos, and go from there. So let's move forward with this. All right. Sorry, I have to get back into the slideshow mode. There we go. All right, so Sophos MDR, where are we at now? We're still doing the same thing we've been doing for the past 3-4 years at Sophos MDR. But one of the things that I want to point out that's different on this slide is 2 things. We're now across the 26,000 customer barrier. Well, barrier is what it is, which means we've been growing exponentially in the 5 years that we've been offering an MDR service, right? The second thing that I want to point out is our average time to detect, investigate, and respond has gone down in the last year as well. So we're getting better. At the same time, we're bringing on more. And I think that speaks to the scalability of a solution that we offer, and just the threats that we can contain automatically using our endpoint product. So today what I'm going to talk about specifically is how we work with Microsoft, because that has gone through a bit of a revamp in the last year, in the last 3 to 6 months, and a lot of enhancements have happened with that. And so I'm going to focus most of the presentation on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're going with other third-party integrations. And then finally, I'm going to kind of address the elephant in the room. If you guys haven't heard, last week we announced the acquisition of Secureworks into the Sophos fold. And so with that, I'm very excited to share some of the new technologies that we're planning to bring to that solution. So with that being said, let's move on with the deck. So MDR for the Microsoft Defender. This is a specific offering that we do that lets you keep Microsoft Defender and Defender products on your endpoint. So if you don't want to use the Sophos endpoint, again, that's up to you. Maybe you're already in like an E3 or E5 license of Microsoft and you already want to take advantage of your existing investment there. But you need to have that 24/7 monitoring, that threat analysis, that team of experts that can help you respond to threats in that environment. That is really the value that we're providing here, in addition to the Microsoft side of things. To do that, we'll feed in data from Microsoft sources. So I have a nice little chart here on the next slide here that kind of goes over where you get it from everything. First of all, we have 2 APIs, a graph API and an activity API. The graph security API. So if you think about this, graph security, if you're familiar with Microsoft Realm, right? Graph security is the term that Microsoft uses as their central management platform for all the Defender products, right? And so within that portfolio, you have, Defender for Cloud, you have Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Identity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all the Defender apps that you can think about, including Defender for Endpoint, which is probably the one that you most are familiar with, that all rolls up their alerts into that graph security. And we ingest that with an API into our data lake, which then is added to our MDR analysis, right? In addition to that, the Management Activity API from Office 365 is another source that we can use. And I'm going to get into why that's different and why that's important. The main reason why the Management Activity API is important is because everybody, regardless of level of licensing, if you're using Office 365 or M365, you have the Management Activity API capabilities. So even if you don't have anything else from Microsoft, none of the other Defender products, you don't have an E3 or E5 license, right? We can take advantage of the telemetry that we can gather from the Management Activity API, feed that in, and take actions off of that data source. So that's important, number one. But number two is that's where all of your account activity happens in Office 365, right? So users being created, users trying to log in, all that stuff like that. The Management Activity API is the data source that gives us visibility into all that activity. So it's a very valuable data source to us, and it is a free integration for us, so that we don't charge additional for that Management Activity API. If you have MDR, we can feed that data in. Now, the added value in the Microsoft Defender suite comes when you get like your business premium, when you get like Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Office 365, or even further into that, the E3 and the E5 licensing, where you get things like Defender for Identity, Cloud Apps, etc. So depending on what level of Microsoft licensing you have, we do support all of those different data sources. Specifically with the Management Activity API, we've built a whole slew, and this is something that's part of the enhancements that I was talking about over the last 6 months. We've built all brand new rules that trigger off of Activity API. So some of these examples here might not look too sexy, right? I don't want to say it's kind of geek speak on the back end, right? But understanding, like, we're looking for suspicious activity in your environment. We're looking for suspicious mailbox rules being created, right? These are precursors to bad guys doing things like business email compromise, right? We're looking for session stealing, right? And things like that to identify when somebody may be trying to access a system illegitimately, right? Stealing a cookie is a common way to bypass MFA nowadays within a Microsoft platform. So we're looking for that type of activity. This is just a subset of the rules. There are about 60 different rules that have been built now in the last 6 months, and we're continuing to expand that. So just know that the raw logs from the management activity API are providing a tremendous amount of value for MDR. And that's kind of rounding out all that, right? So not only do we have the Microsoft data sources, we do also now feed in non-Microsoft telemetry sources. All of that gets added to the Sophos data lake. That data lake is where we're storing all that metadata, that information, so that we can do our human-led response, our threat detection and analysis, our reporting, our proactive threat hunting. So not just reacting to the things that we might see, but actually doing sweeps of your environment, looking for indicators based on intelligence that we see from our 26,000 other customers on this service. And then finally, one of the newest things that I want to talk about that's coming soon, it should enter an early access program. So if you see an early access in your Sophos console for this, definitely take advantage of it. If you're a current MDR customer, that is. But right now with MDR, we can do a lot of things from a response perspective. We can isolate hosts, we can apply a firewall rule, we can terminate a process, we can force that session to log off on the local system, we can even disable user accounts on local systems. But coming soon, we're actually going to have an Entra ID integration, which is going to allow us to take actions within Office 365 as well. So that's going to be a big game changer for us. It's going to allow us to be a lot more proactive in stopping threats like business email compromise before they get too far by terminating that actions at the M365 layer. So again, stay tuned to your consoles. It should happen in the next 3 to 6 months. We're planning on having that integration very soon. So I'm excited about that. And that's some of what's new in the Microsoft realm. Now, to round out the rest of what's new with the Sophos ecosystem and being able to feed in third parties for MDR, we've added a number of new products to that portfolio. If you guys aren't aware, last year we added Google Workspace in addition to Microsoft. Those are both included at no additional charge to Microsoft integrations as well as Google Workspace. We added some new ones to identity like Cisco ICE. We added a backup and recovery whole section of backup recovery vendors. We started with Veeam last year. We've recently added Rubrik and Acronis to that list. And then on the firewall side, we added a couple more firewalls like Barracuda and WatchGuard in the last year. So we're continuing to add and expand our portfolio with regards to our third-party integrations. This is going to benefit you if you already have existing investments. It's going to benefit us on the MDR side by giving us key visibility into these points of data within your security environment.
Yeah, Dan, and I just want to add, I mean, a fair amount of the customers on here have Sophos endpoint, but right, if you're using another firewall, these are all the major ones you can integrate in. But if you are on here and you're not our current Sophos endpoint customer, if you're purchasing another endpoint, MDR still can, give you that security you're looking for, and has the proactive, has the back end, has the 24/7 monitoring. So that's also a good start. Obviously, with when you have Sophos on the endpoint, you get I would say some extra telemetry because those products are built to work together.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer our endpoint's the top-notch endpoint in the world. That's a bit of me drinking the Kool-Aid, to be honest with you. I don't mind drinking that Kool-Aid. I can put our endpoint up against anybody out there. However, we totally understand, like in the case that I've talked about, Microsoft, you've already invested in Microsoft to that E3 or E5 level. You're already getting Defender. You're like, why would I need 2 endpoints? You don't need 2 endpoints on a system. So go with what you're already invested in. That's fine. Take advantage of that existing investment. Maybe when renewal time comes up, look at our endpoint as a potential alternative to that. But again, we do play well with other endpoints. We do have a lightweight sensor that we deploy on an endpoint that's not what we call managed by Sophos endpoint. That sensor will gather the data that we need from that endpoint to feed into our security operations center. So there is a very lightweight installation that happens if you have like Microsoft or CrowdStrike or something like that on your workstations and servers. All right, so let's talk about the big announcement that happened last week. Sophos has acquired Secureworks. This has been in the pipe for about 3 months now. It was originally announced as an acquisition target back in October. We cleared all the regulatory and legal hurdles, and so the acquisition happened on February 1st, I believe, or February 3rd, rather. What does this mean for you as a customer? First and foremost, right now, it's business as usual for us. It's business as usual for Secureworks. We're just both under the same umbrella now. Eventually, you're going to see us taking the best parts of Secureworks and adding it into Sophos. And you're going to see eventually that'll, I'm not sure what the logo will look like in the near future, but at some point we're going to see the branding kind of go away from this Sophos/Secureworks kind of branding. One of the things, there's a couple things from a product perspective that has me super excited. Some gaps I felt in our portfolio that we're starting to fill now with the Secureworks brand. So I wanted to kind of cover a couple of things that I'm most excited about. So first of all, as far as expanding the portfolio, it is going to be the best of both worlds, right? We're not planning on, if you're an existing Secureworks customer, we're not planning on like forcing you out of that, right? What we're planning on doing is strongly recommending, if you're a Secureworks customer, that you have our endpoint, start migrating over to our endpoint instead of the Secureworks. What was it called? Red something, but they had an endpoint product. Ours is better. Again, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid there, of course. Ours is better, so we're obviously encouraging our Secureworks customers to migrate over to our endpoint over time. You don't have to do that right away. Eventually, we're going to see the platform that Secureworks used. That platform is called Taegis. It is a really solid threat detection and response, and you want to call it a SIM, a SOAR, however you want to call it. That type of technology is now going to be integrated into Sophos Central. So our management console is going to be the new console for the Taegis platform going forward. And again, timeline-wise, sometime later this year, right? It's not going to happen. I wish it could happen next month. I think that's a little bit aggressive. I think you're probably going to see that happen over the course of this year. We'll slowly be integrating all the best parts of Taegis into our Sophos Central console. From there, the benefits to you as a customer, we're now going to be able to check that SIM box, right? So whereas we had the integrations, had these great third-party, telemetry that we could pull in, we did not have a security event management system like a full-blown SIM. We were just ingesting alerts from these products. So now we can actually have that, serve as a true SIM, meaning if you have a compliance or regulatory requirement to have a SIM in your environment, we can submit that and satisfy that requirement. Personally, on my side of things, as a threat guy, as a guy that is more concerned about threats than about just gathering logs, I'm very excited about what Taegis does from an identity protections perspective. They have a true ITDR, or identity threat detection and response solution. I touched on it a little bit with some of the enhancements we made on the Microsoft side about detecting business email compromise attacks before they happen. This is going to take what we're already doing and the good job we're already doing, and it's going to take it to the next level. So I'm extremely excited about what the Taegis platform is going to do and what Secureworks' technology and expertise is going to add to our existing efforts in combating probably, I would say, the second biggest threat behind ransomware now, which is that account takeover, business email compromise, somehow somebody got access to your account and is now sending spam, or pretty much everybody's seen it at least once now in the past 3 years. So we know that it's definitely a rising trend, and this ITDR solution is really going to complement what we're already doing and enhance it. So I'm very excited about that. And then third, go ahead. Todd.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, Secureworks historically served, I would say, larger sized customers. I mean, the overlap is at kind of the mid-size, the higher end of the mid is where Sophos has a lot. But are you seeing all these offerings, and maybe it's early days, are all these offerings going to be offered down into the mid-market and small business?
Yeah, and that's the nice thing is that we've so if you follow Sophos at all in the last 10 years, and I've only been here for 4 years, but I've seen it. Every acquisition we make, we've taken technology that sometimes skews to a higher audience, like an enterprise audience, and we've been able to bring it down to a more mid-market or SMB type of audience through that central platform. So I'm extremely confident that we'll be able to do that, as well as currently right now, if you want to buy Secureworks or the SIM tools or the ITDR, you can currently do that through a Sophos partner right now.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's extremely it just works well. It's going to complement us well. We're very excited about some of the accounts that we get into now, right, from an enterprise perspective. But more importantly, from my side as a engineer, as a technical person, as somebody that really cares about how the products work to protect our customers, what has me most excited is the ability to take the stuff that was enterprise class from a threat detection and response and automation, and being able to integrate this into a way that even an organization of 50 users could use. Right. So I'm excited about that.
That is super. That's really cool.
Yep. Last but not least, and again, there's a lot of things here to look at on this slide. But the last thing I want to point out is security advisory services, right? We're not trying to displace what Productive does right here, but this is more about like high-end services that you would expect out of a security services organization, like tabletop exercises, like red teaming exercises, things like that, where you have a group of security professionals come out and actually do like a live walkthrough of a threat scenario and help you develop an incident response plan around that, or develop playbooks around that for your security operations team. That's the type of security advisory services that we're talking about here. I'm super excited because that's a portfolio offering that we didn't really have at Sophos before as well. And so it just really helps round out and help us in this transition of Sophos being just a purely product-focused company that sold endpoint and firewalls and switches and everything else like that, now into more of a services-oriented company that's doing managed detection and response and security advisory services and identity threat detection and response and everything else. So extremely excited about the path that we have going forward. I always like to say 3 to 6 months, wait for it, right? Now, we just acquired them last week, so it's going to take a little while for everything to get put into one place, but that future is going to be very bright here at Sophos. So with that, that's all I had to share. Thank you so much. We'll, I guess we have 5-10 minutes left. We'll pause and take some questions if you have any.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really appreciate that, Dan. I mean, great stuff. MDR continues to be an industry-leading solution in 24/7 monitoring. It's where everything's going in security. So think about it. If you need to talk to us, it is a jump up from Intercept X, but it's the security environment we live in, or the security threats that are out there. This is how you stay secure. So we should talk about that. The Secureworks stuff, we'll share more with that as we have more tangible offerings. And yeah, really, really good. So we're going to give you a few minutes back today. So, appreciate, your time today.